Space 1999 remains arguably Gerry Anderson's most controversial series. The programme was made in a difficult economic situation and was an immense technical achievement considering the strains put upon the filmmaking industry for its time. The series ran for 2 different seasons, and both are markedly different. The premise saw the occupants of Moonbase Alpha having been blown into outer space following the explosion of a nuclear waste dump on the moon. The members of Moonbase Alpha are sent to a terrifying voyage, encountering black suns, hostile alien life forms, and cosmic entities that threaten their existence. Now, the occupants of Alpha must search for a new habitable planet to call their home. Unlike with the crew of the Enterprise, these space travellers are uninvited and have no wish to be where they are. The first series was the last production that Gerry and his wife Sylvia Anderson worked on together, and was a more polished and refined, elegant series than that of the second. The first season was also the most expensive British TV series made for its time, and intrigued viewers with its dialogue-heavy metaphysics and slow, unnatural alien encounters. The second season, however, is a pacier, more action-packed series, and fits better with the high-tense melodramas of Gerry Anderson's more traditional programmes. This may be an unpopular opinion, but I definitely prefer Series 2 over Series 1. It featured various new additions to the main cast, and removed various other members from Series 1. This version of the series was closer to the style of science fiction of its era, and had a better chance of appearing as a more sellable product, both within the UK and internationally. The characters were warmer, and we were introduced to a shape-shifting alien to accompany the crew. Space 1999 was made under constant creative interference from ITC Entertainment, mainly during the second season of its run, and led to the series struggling to maintain a consistent tone for itself. However, the programme is fondly remembered by sci-fi fans and remains as a famous Gerry Anderson series. Internationally, Space 1999 is a very attractive property, with its widespread broadcasts, compilation movies, and frequent home video releases. The series stars Martin Landau, Barbara Bain, Barry Morse, and Catherine Schell, alongside a number of strong guest actors seen throughout on an episode-by-episode basis. The series also boasts impressive model work from Brian Johnson, who designed the Eagle transporters, a runner-up to the famous supermarionation vehicles such as Thunderbird 2 and Spectrum Pursuit vehicle. The series' success has led to possibly continuing the run of stories from Moonbase Alpha's personnel, with talks of a third series from ITC Entertainment, or even a Maya spin-off based on Catherine Schell's character. Although the series is certainly one of my lesser favourite Gerry Anderson series, the programme does have its moments, but I was never so much into Anderson's live-action series, in any extent in comparison to the supermarionation era. I've always tended to find what went on behind the camera in space far more interesting than the actual series itself. His live-action programmes tended to struggle to maintain a consistent tone across their entire run of episodes, usually as a result of constant creative differences and interference from networks and production companies. The first season, I felt, was drastically lacking in action and melodrama that so very defined the core of Thunderbirds, Captain Scarlet and the Mysterons, Stingray, Joe 90 and others. Season 1 doesn't often feel like a Gerry Anderson series, as it's so different in style and tone to the supermarionation programmes, which perfectly encapsulate all the best Anderson-esque qualities. The 50-minute stories would have worked better as 25-minute instalments, and even the more highly regarded stories, I felt, were still struggling to hold my attention. The science fiction aspect of the day after tomorrow seen within the series failed in grasping my imagination in comparison to the futuristic depiction of the 2060s, the 1960s Anderson shows displayed, particularly the lunar-themed settings. The sci-fi reality of Stingray, Thunderbirds, Captain Scarlet, and Joe 90 fueled my imagination with a universe that was futuristically real and plausible. The Lunarville trilogy within the Captain Scarlet episodes succeeded far better in creating a science fiction scenario of Man on the Moon than that of Alpha's doomed journey of terror based on its style and design. The second season had its budget slashed, resulting in a smaller main mission set, now referred to as the Command Center. There is greater warmth and charm to the series, and I do see why some fans who like Series 1 dislike the campier version with more monsters in rubber costumes and more Star Trek-like deep space action compared with the carefully crafted and articulated first series. Gone was the scientists and explorers. The series had a better chance of appealing to the American market, as this style of drama was closer to what was on the American networks at that time. I also greatly like Maya as a character. She is perhaps my favourite character in an Anderson series, with the exception of Ed Straker, since the Supermarionation days. The second season does have its faults nonetheless. Fred Freiberger was hired to make the series to be more appealing to the US market. His ideas may appear a little unconventional in the eyes of traditional Gerry Anderson fans. Anderson has gone on note for his dislike towards the style of the second season. The campier version of the series often made the programme look outdated even for 1970s sci-fi. On its original debut, broadcasters, much as in the case with Gerry Anderson's UFO, struggled to find where to aim the programme towards. The sombre yet delicacy of the first series, which questioned humanity's place in the universe, was not the type of science fiction that audiences were used to in Britain based on their exposure to Star Trek, to Doctor Who, and other Supermarionation programmes. The second season, however, lacked the magnificence of the exploits of adventures that defined the best Gerry Anderson series. With these tonal differences, it is little wonder what American networks made of the series in thinking it would be a series suitable for American distribution. The stylistic tone for the programme was reflected not only in major storyline and cast changes, but also musical scores of both versions of the programme. Gerry Anderson legend Barry Gray was the composer for the first season of Space 1999, and this proved to be his final composition for any of Anderson's programmes. Gray provided memorable and famous themes and incidental music for AP Films and Century 21 throughout the Supermarionation era. Both the score for Series 1 and 2 was affected by the Musicians' Union's restrictions, meaning only a small amount of episodes could be scored for a series. Gray composed music for Breakaway, A Matter of Life and Death, Black Sun, Another Time, Another Place, and The Full Circle. The Full Circle ended up becoming Barry Gray's final contribution to the Gerry Anderson programmes. The other episodes were required to reuse music not only from Gerry Anderson's previous series, dating back to the earliest Supermarionation series, but a versatile of lively music. Gray's favourite compositions for his work on Space 1999 was the theme music, various electronic space sounds, and the score for A Matter of Life and Death. One of the criticisms made from ITC America about the series was the need to feature a more modern score than that of the majestic score composed by Gray, meaning Anderson was forced to look for a new composer to score his series. The revised version of the series was reflected in part with the new pacier title sequence, which introduced viewers to the concept of the series. Derek Wadsworth, the composer of the second season, had been introduced to Gerry Anderson for composing the music for the educational pilot film produced for NBC The Day After Tomorrow. This led him to write the music for the second season of Space 1999. Wadsworth's incidental music reflected that to closer contemporary modern jazz, and composed music for The Metamorph, The Exiles, One Moment of Humanity, The Table, and Space Warp. Much of his music was recycled throughout the remainder of the series' stories. Space 1999's first series relied heavily on music tracks from sources outside of the Gerry Anderson universe. These scores that featured in select episodes helped each story create its own unique atmosphere and ambition. Throughout the course of the first season, as per the case with the Anderson ITC Entertainment programs, Barry Gray also utilised previous scores from Gerry Anderson's early productions that he had composed for whenever music was necessary. Space 1999 Ray used older tracks dating as far back as Supercar. The first series rescored music primarily from Joe 90 and the Secret Service. Examples of rescored music came in the form of, for example, The Infernal Machine, which used music from the Thunderbirds episode Terror in New York City, where the Empire State Building began to crumble after moving, was used for Alpha's attack on Gwent. The Last Sunset in particular utilised music from Supercar, Stingray, Thunderbirds and Thunderbird 6, Joe 90 and the Secret Service, and Collision Course rescored tracks from Captain Scarlet and the Mysterons, Joe 90, the Secret Service, Supercar and Thunderbird 6. It's slightly a pity more Captain Scarlet music wasn't used throughout. With its more subtle score, I thought would have made for a perfect fit for the series. Had a third series of Space 1999 or a My spin-off come to pass, it is probable that Wadsworth would have been rehired to compose more music. The programme has been dubbed widely across the world for international distribution and led to new arrangements being composed for the series, most notably for the Super Space Theatre movies. The Super Space Theatre movies would reuse music from the Barry Gray archive, including the Year 2 movie Cosmic Princess, adding extra music from the first season alongside music from Joe 90 and UFO. Much like the other Anderson series, the programme continues to have frequent merchandise released since its original debut alongside various television repeat screenings across the world. Many video releases have been made of the series in the 1980s and 1990s, followed by the DVDs released by Carlton in the early 21st century alongside the Supermarionation and ITC Entertainment releases, and later from Network Distributing and Spirit Entertainment. Series 1 received a special edition release on DVD and Blu-ray. Series 2 was re-released under Network in 2015 after much anticipation and speculation, both on DVD and Blu-ray, following the deletion of the availability of the Carlton DVDs in 2005. Reconstructions have also been made of the Super Space Theatre movies for Blu-ray, and Anderson Entertainment have launched their own Anderson home media range, which consists of 4K Gerry Anderson episodes. For the 50th anniversary of the series, Space 1999 Breakaway, along with Thunderbirds, were released in 4K steelbooks, alongside receiving UK cinema screenings. The success of the response from fans has led to further 4K episodes, including the Metamorph, more Thunderbirds, and hopefully other Gerry Anderson series. Discussions have been made about a revival for the series. The Message from Moonbase Alpha fan film, made in 1999, was made much in a similar fashion to Captain Scarlet and the Return of the Mysterons, which was produced around the same time, which was made to consider the possibility of reviving the show for a 21st century audience. Negotiations have been made with ITV Studios for a remake titled Space 2099 for a new audience, but, as such, remain undeveloped. To reiterate, whilst not one of my top favourite series, Space 1999 shares a convoluted history behind its production that brought about some of the most controversial and widely discussed Gerry Anderson topics. Fans can now appreciate the series in 4K as Anderson Entertainment continues to serve to the legacy left behind Gerry Anderson's remarkable television programmes.